What's up, guys? It's Pat Voss. Welcome back to the Honesty Podcast. Of course, you know you can catch on YouTube and Patreon 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, my vlog series. Every single Saturday, you can catch a brand new Saturday special interview for my new interview series. And, of course, the Q&A sessions on Sunday. Thanks to Amir Gray at That Gray Guy and AmirGrayMusic.com for cutting the intro for that, and my father, Ed Voss, for doing the vocals to the intro. But today, let's focus on right now. It's a Saturday special interview series. I've got Kate Erickson of EO Fire and Kate's Take. Kate, how are you?
Awesome, Pat. Thanks for the energy and enthusiasm. I love it.
And I'm not going to try to steal John's line and you guys' line, so I'm going to leave that out of there. But yes, I feel that kind of energy every time I do a show. So for those of you out there in Honesty Podcast land that are listening or watching this, Kate, what is it that you do?
Okay, so myself and John Lee, we're business partners. We're also life partners. And about 4 years ago, we started an online platform called Entrepreneur on Fire. It's a daily podcast where John interviews today's most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs every single day, 7 days a week. We now have over 1,500 interviews live. And from the podcast, which is the foundation of our business, we've created online communities to help other people start podcasts. We've created online communities to help other people run webinars for their business. And really what we do is just try and provide as much valuable content as we can around helping other people become entrepreneurs who want to kind of create that life for themselves and not be stuck in a 9-to-5 job that they hate. So John's kind of like the pretty face and the voice and the energy behind the business. And I pretty much like make everything happen in the back end. So I'm more of like the systems and, campaign builder and funnel builder and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and there's a couple things you mentioned in there that I wanted to bring up. One thing is with EO Fire, you also have Kate's Take.
Yes.
Which I'm a big fan of and I am subscribed to.
Thank you.
And I like the way that you do Kate's Take. I want to say this, and for the viewers that don't know, if you go on to EO Fire, it's an audio blog, it's Kate's Take on iTunes as well. You can go check it out. They have the audio blog, the blog itself on the EO Fire website, and then you can go on to iTunes and Stitcher Radio to actually listen to the blog itself. And I love that. I love that it's dual, because you do have people that just like to read, just like to go to websites. And then you have the people like myself who love to listen to you and John and people like Pat Flynn from SPI. Like, that's my thing. I listen and then I form my own opinions and I go on about my day. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. The podcast has been such a great learning experience for me, and it's helped me grow so much personally, just in being more comfortable with putting myself out there. I've gained a lot of confidence from the podcast, and I have a lot of fun sharing, what I write.
Now, were you, before you and JLD launched EO Fire, did you have any aspirations of maybe doing something for yourself? Like, I know you do Kate's Take, but something like that. Is that why you did Kate's Take?
Yeah. So John launched EO Fire on his own. So we were together. We were living together. We were living in Portland, Maine at the time. I was working at an advertising and marketing agency, and he launched EO Fire. I joined the team about 6 months post-launch, because that's when he really started picking up momentum and kind of saw like, okay, this is actually like working. We can do this, but I need your help. So that's when I came on the team. Now, before I even had that job in marketing and advertising, my very first entrepreneurial venture is when I tried to start my own business called Kate's Copy. And what I was looking to do was help brick and mortar businesses that were local to the Portland, Maine area. I wanted to help them understand and bring their presence online, because I saw so many amazing businesses, but they didn't even have websites, or, they sold great physical products in a store, but imagine the possibilities if you put that online. So that's what I was trying to do with Kate's Copy. Unfortunately, and fortunately, because I learned so many lessons through that failure, about 6 months after I launched is when I went and got that job in marketing and advertising. So that's kind of like the last 5 years in a nutshell for me.
And I like that. I like that you did join. So I wasn't aware of that, by the way, that you joined post-launch. I was not aware. But that you and JLD together now have made such a great business out of this. And you do, show your financial reports. You show the reports, every month, I believe. And And I like that about it. It's a little bit of transparency, and it lets people know, and not every month is going to be an amazing month, and not every month is going to be such a low month either. It's a lot of people that get into podcasting, and I've noticed this, that like my show because I do just sports and entertainment. So that covers a lot, but they look at me doing this and go, well, do you make any money? What are you doing? What is your plan? Why do you speak on a microphone? And my plan is to basically be like you guys, is to have that business where I do sell merchandise on Spreadshirt.com. I do have, I don't have right now, but I'm looking to really push the Patreon aspect of things, because that will be a starter. Before any kind of social media guide books come out, or any kind of anything down the road that I'm planning to do, which I won't get into right now, but what I'm planning for the future, but it has to start here. It has to start on the ground level, because if it doesn't, and I'm just shooting for the stars right away, I will fail, and the podcast will fail. I won't have subscribers. I won't have listeners. And it just is not worth it then, because I want someone to benefit in some way, regardless if they're paid patrons on Patreon or if they just listen to the vlog series on YouTube. Learn something or take something away from what you hear from me. And that's the same thing that I get when I listen to Kate's Take, and the same thing I get when I listen to EO Fire. Same. So, and a lot of people don't know that back when, well, rest in peace Blab, but when Blab still existed, I was on the show or your launch for the Freedom Journal. The final show that you did on Blab, the last 3 hours of it. And that's actually how I made my connections of Roberto Blake from robertoblake.com. I mean, I saw him on the show, and then he saw me talking to you guys and thought to contact me for some marketing tips. But anyways, through that, you've had great success with the Freedom Journal. And I know now that you have the Mastery Journal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in January of 2016 is when we launched the Freedom Journal, which you mentioned. And the Freedom Journal is a physical journal that is, the goal is to help you accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. So every single day and every single night, it walks you through different exercises and kind of holds you accountable to putting one goal in place, focusing on that goal and accomplishing it within 100 days. The Mastery Journal, which we launched January 2017, it's the same kind of layout and idea. It's a 100-day physical journal, but the Mastery Journal is all about helping you master productivity, discipline, and focus in 100 days. So it's an awesome complement to the Freedom Journal. We're getting really amazing feedback. The Kickstarter is off to an amazing start, and we're really, really fired up to get it into people's hands, because I can't wait for people to start using it.
And I can't believe, and I'm glad that it's off to such a great start. One thing I couldn't believe that JLD did, I believe on Snapchat, was saying that, and even through emails, saying that he was a little bit nervous, and actually admitting, like, a lot of people don't understand, they see YouTube personalities, or they see you and John and or Pat Flynn or myself. They see us and they see confidence on the mic, or they see confidence in front of a camera. But I'm glad that he was willing to show that human side of things, because a lot of people are afraid to show that, because it doesn't necessarily, not bode well, but it doesn't fit, I guess, in fans' mind. It doesn't fit the ideal mold of, oh, this is the guy I want to listen to. And he's great. You're amazing at your show as well. So I just want people to know, it's not always about just being overly confident and smiling for the cameras. You let people know, look, yeah, I'm a little nervous about this launch. Why wouldn't I be? With the great success of the Freedom Journal, why wouldn't I be? I like that. You let us in a little bit. And for your show now, do you have, with Kate's Take, are you thinking of maybe having on, and this is something I wanted to know about, like interviews or guests maybe to Kate's Take?
Yeah, that's a question I've gotten a few times from different listeners, which kind of tells me, listen to feedback. And if that feedback's repetitive, maybe you should start listening a little bit harder. So I have tested it out with having guests on the show. To date, I've had 2 interviewees on, and I've been doing the show for over 2 years, almost 2.5 years. So 2 guests, not much, I know, but I'm kind of moving in that direction to where I'm trying to figure out how it fits in with the flow that I have going right now. So at the beginning of 2016, so for a little over 1 year now, I've moved into having seasons on the podcast. So instead of just publishing, not random content, but like not necessarily sequential order content, I've started building seasons around specific topics. And I really find that helps me prepare best and create the best content. And I'm getting amazing feedback from my listeners because they get to kind of like follow along on this journey. So I think you'll be excited about season 5 because I do have like some very uncharacteristic episodes coming up, some of which will be interview shows.
Oh, I like that. And the reason I bring that up, and I like the point that you made on that as well, a lot of listeners of my show don't seem to understand that there is a testing phase. I look like I just get in, like I said, you get in front of the mic and you just start talking. Mm-hmm. It's not like that. There's booking with Calendly. There's making sure I'm on every single email, or if I'm being contacted through social media on Facebook and Twitter, I need to make sure I'm there to respond like right away, because unlike, and for you guys, and I know that you do a lot of the background things, you're helping out with the emails, you're making sure that everything's ready to go. And that I understand completely, because I'm a one-man show over here. I'm making sure that everybody that's contacting me, if they're complimenting me or putting the show down, and of course you're going to have good and bad with shows, but a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of prep behind it, and you can't just throw yourself out there and expect something to soar and take off, because it won't. You will flop. Yeah. And I like that you said about the 2 interviews. Well, that's not a lot, but yes, you're testing the waters. As you're doing what you know how to do best, you're testing other waters. And that's something I'm glad that your crowd that listens to your show and listens to EO Fire, they are ready and prepared to let you test the waters because they like you so much and they love what you're saying.
Yeah, I really think that podcasting and so many different platforms that we use to get our voice and our message out there to our audience, it's all about continuous improvement, constantly testing different things, seeing what works best. When do you get the most engagement? When do you get the most downloads? When you get the most reads? You could apply this to really anything in business. It's all about putting something out there, seeing what happens, and then adjusting course from there. Because the thing is, if you don't ever start, you're never going to know. You can ask 100 different people the same question. You're not going to have the answer until you do whatever it is that you're waiting to do. So I always say, just start. Maybe it's going to be a total flop. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll stick, and your show or your blog or whatever it is will soar, but you're never going to know until you take that step and just do it.
Right. And one thing I do ask a lot of people after at the very end of the interviews, I do seem to ask, if you were doing something other than what you're doing now, what would it be? But I want to skip over that, because I know that you are convinced, and it looks like it, you are convinced that this is where you need to be and this is what you need to be doing because you enjoy it.
Yeah, I know wholeheartedly that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And we've made a lot of business changes. We've made a lot of life changes, personal changes over the past few years. Every single one of them has been scary, terrifying. I question, am I doing the right thing or not? But, from day to day, when I'm really big about being in the moment and staying present. And I know for sure I'm exactly where I need to be right now.
And I appreciate all the honesty and coming on the show today and doing this interview, because a lot of people, don't understand with sports and entertainment. Yes, that's a completely different show that I do. This interview series is everyone, because I don't know you and John that well. I would love to, but for you and John and Pat Flynn and certain Andrew McDonald, who I believe was on JLD's show as well. Yeah. Just people like that, entrepreneurs, writers, bloggers, people that are, and I consider that entertainment. And that's what I don't think a lot of my audience understands. A lot of these interviews, I still consider entertainment because of what you folks do. It's a different realm of entertainment, but it still is entertainment. There's authors out there, but what do? They entertain kids with the books they write. They entertain the adults with the books they write. So I really, really appreciate you, Kate, for coming on the show today and coming to the interview. Is there anything you want to say to your audience before we get going for the day?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in. If you want to check out what we have going on with the Mastery Journal, with the Freedom Journal, with the podcast, everything is over at eofire.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
And, of course, you can reach me. I'm the host of the Honesty Podcast, Pat Voss, at Honesty Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, Pat Voss 12 on Snapchat. And of course, if you're not already a patron on patreon.com/honestypodcast, go check that out today. It's only $1 an episode minimum. I put out only 8 pieces of content on Patreon alone a month. So it's not a huge financial commitment for you folks. If we can get 50 to 100 patrons, which is what I'm aiming for, we would definitely be the backdrops, the lighting, the softbox lighting, get everything really, really professional. Get it all really set up, and I'm not sitting here with a box in the background. But this has been Pat Voss interviewing Kate Erickson, EO Fire and Kate's Take. I'll see you guys next week for another great interview episode on Saturdays. This has been the Honesty Podcast.